so glad you came out here to see me.
I am so glad that you agreed to do it and that you
of
invited
course.
us over here. I mean, it's just great to do.
It's fun.
And
it's
you
fun.
know, we'll go back to Richmond, but just to go back to the East Bay in general.
Right.
We have a Berkeley connection.
Yes.
I went to Berkeley undergrad and eventually did grad school there.
Awesome.
But when I was I believe if I remember correctly, I think I was an undergrad still. You went back to talk. I think it was through the Black Student Union.
Oh my goodness.
Talked to some kids. I was supposed to go. Something came up. I couldn't make it.
Oh my goodness.
But I heard from everyone how amazing it was. And I just, you know, I've regretted that ever since. But,
oh my gosh.
So when the idea to do this show, which is really just a way to hopefully, I mean, I think it's for everyone, but my thought was I want to do something where when I was in college and I was at Berkeley, I kind of thought that was it. Like I made it. Like it's over.
Right.
What I didn't realize was like a whole journey ahead, and I didn't really know how to navigate that.
Yeah, it's the beginning of that journey. It's the beginning of the journey. You step on that campus and you see Sather Gate and the big campanile, and you're like, okay, this is big stuff here. I made it.
Yeah.
And
everyone's telling you made it.
You made it. You know that.
You
like, congratulations, you did it. You're at Berkeley, #1 public institution in the world, all that, right? And it's just the beginning of the journey. And there's a lot to navigate while you're there. Yeah. And then there's a lot to navigate when you leave there with your Berkeley piece of paper in your hand.
Let's talk about how you got to Berkeley. What was it like growing up in Richmond, California?
Oh, I love 94804. Okay, so my parents left Birmingham, Alabama. So, you know your civil rights history. So the church that was bombed in Birmingham in 1963, the 16th Street Baptist Church, okay, that was one of my mother's churches, okay, right there in her neighborhood. And so, but she left there 3 months prior when I was a baby, okay? And that always sticks out to me because 4 girls lost their lives that day. My mother has 4 girls and 2 boys, okay? So I think about those girls every day. Just think about them and the sacrifice that they had to make, okay, and what all happened there. But my parents left there.
Could have been your friends.
Oh, absolutely could have been. I mean, absolutely could have been. So, but my parents left there because they wanted us to, they didn't want us to grow up in the Jim Crow segregated South. So moved to the Bay Area, Richmond, California. My dad had a sister and a brother-in-law there. My uncle was a preacher. And so we landed in the projects, okay? And it was, you know, I describe it as a good childhood, even though there was a lot of stuff that happened, okay? Because a lot of things happen to all of us. It's just how you grow up. Right. And so my parents stressed education, my mom and my dad. But we were the victims of domestic violence. I mean, I saw a lot. I saw my mom being abused. My father broke my nose when I was 16 years old. I just saw a lot of stuff happen. Actually, 15.
You're at this place now where you can say you had a good childhood. And maybe you've been there a long time. Was it always that way? Did you all how were you processing this at the time that it's happening?
Actually, probably yes, because I probably actually know more now about what was going on in our house and the poverty and my mother not having always food for her when we thought she just wasn't hungry. So I know more of that now. Yeah. But the way I processed it growing up is, you know, my mother had us in church. So we were in church all the time. So my mother was a woman of faith. And so we just always felt like the Lord would take care of us. I mean, for example, the summer my father left us, and it was a bloody, ugly summer where we had to flee our house that summer. But my mother's prayer was that we would make it back home before school started because education was everything. Right. I mean, everything. And we made it back home. There was one mattress in the house for me and my younger sister to sleep on. My father had taken everything, and eventually, you know, he started to send it back. But my mother told us that day, because we were going crazy. I ran track. Our trophies were gone. I mean, there were 3 of us at home at the time. And so we're teenagers.
It's amazing the things you care about at that age.
Yeah, it was like, where are my trophies? Yeah. Okay. And then, you know, school is getting ready to start. We don't have any clothes. And I'll never forget what my mother said. She said, everybody be quiet. And it was just dead silence. She said, all I want is peace of mind. The Lord will provide. And he did. Literally. People start bringing us stuff. The furniture started to show up again. I went to school, but I went to school with a brace on my nose from where my father had broken my nose that summer. But my mother told me to go to school. I was head cheerleader. She said, just do what you have to do. So I went to school, cheering, brace on my nose, everything, like a brace was not on my nose. Okay, that's what I was just told to do. Just keep going. And 3 teachers and a principal. I'll never forget this. 3 teachers and a principal embraced me, wanted to know what was going on. I mean, at this point, I'm a junior, so they know me. Talked to my mom, and they just got me involved in all kind of activities, and the rest is history. Literally, the rest is history. Miss Irvin, Mr. Rotelli, Mr. Chapman, and Mr. Parrots just decided, okay, this girl is going to college. We know her mom. We know the desires of her mom, and we're going to embrace her. And my zip code didn't matter. I got a great public education. They embraced me, and I ended up with 5 full scholarships to the college of my choice.
Did your siblings have a similar read on things? Or did they have a similar experience? Also, we're going to be college bound, and were the same things expected of them? And
oh yeah, my mother was one of these mothers who would stand at the door on report card day.
Wow.
I mean, she had 6 kids. She'd stand at the door on report card day, and you couldn't get in the house until she saw your report card.
Wow.
And she knew all the capabilities of her kids. So for me, she expected to see straight A's. Okay. But she knew the capabilities. So then she'd get us all around the table, all 6 of us, and she'd go around and talk to us about our grades, the school year, and all that. She'd have a cake. I mean, education was big. Report card day was big. The first day of school was big. The last day of school was big. And I'm still like that with my kids. I always take off the first 2 days of school, the last day of school. Kind of fake the teachers out the first few days. Like, they think I'm going to be there all the time, but I'm not, because I'm a busy woman. I'm a busy woman. Okay? I got a strategy, right? But it's a message to the kids that this is important enough for me to take off. So my mother was like that. Stand at the door, report card day, all that. It was big. So we knew education mattered. We knew that at an early age. In the summers when other kids were outside playing, my mother would say, okay, I remember one summer, she says, you guys need to learn how to type, because one day you'll need these skills and you won't be able to pay anybody to type your papers for you when you get to college. And we're like, what is she talking about? I remember I was in 9th grade, and she had these big orange books that I can still see, those civil servant exams.
Yeah.
And so she'd make a big keyboard out of this big, butcher block paper, whatever it is. And I mean, I still see it, ASDF, JKL, semicolon. We just sit there.
On butcher paper.
Yes. She would draw the keys and she would put this up.
She's a mad woman.
Yes, because there's stuff she wanted us to know and skills that she wanted us to have. And to this day, I mean, I thank her. I mean, because she had a vision. I mean, it didn't matter that we were in the projects. Yeah. She had a vision for what she wanted for her kids. And so she just kept us very focused. I always describe the 4 words that I live by right now, and I know it's because these words were drilled into me as a kid. Dream, focus, pray, and act. Have big dreams, focus. So a lot of distractions will come up, and I'll tell you about a distraction I had my first week when I was at Berkeley.
Please, yeah.
So dream, focus, pray. I mean, pray about everything, but then take action.
Yeah.
Because my mother used to always say, yes, you can pray about it, but then you have to get up and do something. I mean, you have to do something.
Right.
And so those are the 4 words that I still live by and the words that I drill into my kids.
Amazing. And clearly, and we'll talk about the distraction your first week of birth. But I mean, your whole life to that point was really full of distraction. I mean, emotional distraction. I mean, all kinds of distractions. All kind.
I mean, and my mom. I mean, the stuff that she was going through. But every Sunday, she'd line us up, all 6 of us. We'd walk up Cutting Boulevard and 23rd Street, and we'd go to church. I mean, she had a routine for us, even with everything that she was going through.
So, unique experience. Your mom is helping keep you guys sort of structured, and on track,
and focused, right?
And focused. Mm-hmm. And your dad's kind of working against her.
He's doing his thing. Okay, he's hustling.
How did you manage that relationship with your dad? How did you manage to keep your disposition with essentially one parent kind of working against you?
Well, okay, so my dad stressed education, and he'd be involved. Like, he was a coach for the baseball team, so he had that side of him. Yeah. But then he also had the very mean side of him. Yeah. Where he was, yelling and screaming and hitting and being abusive. And my mom went to great lengths to just kind of keep us away from that. Sometimes she was successful, sometimes she wasn't. Fortunately, he stressed education. So the education piece was, part of what he pushed as well. But it was a kind of hostile environment. Yeah. It was. Yeah. It was a hostile environment. Yeah. Which why to this day, I don't like yelling and screaming. And I tell every boss I ever have, don't yell at me. I won't tolerate that. My father was a yeller. My husband was told that. All my brother-in-laws, it's like, no,
Right.
don't go there.
So it certainly has affected the way you move through life in a certain way.
Oh, yes, indeed.
The expectations you have for people and...
Yeah, especially as it relates to respect.
Right.
And tone and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
And so, I probably need 5 therapists or something. But yes,
I think you're doing pretty good.
It's just some things that I just won't tolerate. Yes, it's some things I won't tolerate.
So clearly with your disposition, it just made sense. You knew, of course, get into school your choice, full ride. No
Yes.
problem. I mean,
Yes.
Of course it was going to be. Berkeley is an interesting place.
It is.
Because I think everyone thinks it's like a bastion of racial and ethnic and harmony, but the truth of it is, and I went there 30, 40 years after you, it's not diverse.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, people think that.
Yeah.
It's the San Francisco Bay Area. It's very diverse. It's very liberal. I mean, all of that.
Yeah.
And when I went to Berkeley, blacks made up 1% of the school. There were 300 of us, and I think there were about 30,000 students. I mean, we made up 1% of the school. I was the only African-American in my sorority. I was a DG. And one of the first black cheerleaders. It just was not, it wasn't diverse. And it still is not as diverse as it should be as it relates to blacks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did you handle that?
Well, since I just did what I normally did. I mean, like when I went out to be a cheerleader, I was a cheerleader in high school. So I was always told if there's something I wanted to do, just go out and do it. No one ever kind of made an issue for me about nobody's ever done it before. I mean, even when I went to my sisters, I have 2 sisters who graduated from my high school 3 years before I did. And when I was sitting at their graduation as a freshman, and they had 2 white guys on stage, the senior class president, the student body president. And I looked at my mom and I said, can a black girl be on the stage? And I said, who are those people on the stage? And she told me, student body president, senior class president. I said, okay, so I want a black girl on the stage. I said, okay, when I graduate, I'm going to be up there because I want to call all the names and just kind of lead the class.
Right.
And she says, okay, you can do whatever you want to do. That was like her attitude. And so by the time I got to be a junior, at the end of that year, I told one of my buddies, Terry McRae, she just passed away earlier this year. I told Terry, I said, look, you're going to run for student body president, and I'm running for senior class president, so we can have 2 black girls up on the stage, like for the first time.
Yeah.
And she said, okay. I said, now, obviously, we're going to lead our class. We're going to lead the school. That will be fun. But at the end of all of it, we get to stand on the stage and show people that we could be up there too. Like, okay. So we both ran, and we both won. And we had a great time leading our class and our school and all kind of activities, but it was different.
Yeah.
I mean, it was different. I remember one time we had like all the black students outside the library because they weren't, a lot of them weren't on the student steering committee. And so I'm like, come on in, everybody come in. And people are looking like, but they're not on the committee. So I guess I was practicing inclusion way back in those days. I was doing DEI way back then. And I said, no, everybody gets to come in. Everybody gets to have a say in the class activities. And they're like, no, the steering committee is just this. And so we had a little room inside the library we were meeting in. We had to open up the whole library. I said, no, let's go and get the principal. Have them open up the whole library so everybody could come in, give us a microphone. I mean, that was back in 1977, and I still remember it. We opened up the whole library, and everybody came in, and we kind of just diversified and expanded the steering committee because I was senior class president, and my buddy was a student body president, and we looked like we looked, and we wanted everybody to participate. And that's been the story of my life. We just did it. I mean, I never really saw any barriers. And even when people push back, you just go right through it.
Right.
I mean, I was just taught that I could do what anybody else
A natural born leader.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's what my mom would say.
Yeah.
But it was just what I was taught. It really was. And it was all the people in my environment. So I went to a diverse high school. I went to diverse schools.
Yeah.
So my whole life right there in my neighborhood. And then, of course, bus to junior high and high school.
But the community of the Bay Area is diverse. It's the school, UC Berkeley.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so Berkeley was a little different because by the time I got there, my high school was about I mean, you saw as many Asians, as many white, as many blacks, some Hispanics in my high school, right? So very mixed.
Yeah.
And then when I got to Berkeley, it was very different.
Right.
But I didn't change. So the things I wanted to do, if I saw an activity I wanted to participate in, a class I wanted to take, I mean, I just did what I normally would do. I didn't get scared because of the fact that there weren't a whole lot of people who looked like me. There weren't a lot of professors that looked like me. Dr. Harry Edwards was there.
Yes.
And, you know, he is fired up. And so I took his class as a freshman, which was great.
Legendary. On that campus.
And it was great because I took his class. So he talked to us about being black, being strong, the stigma sometimes associated with being black. I remember him, I distinctly remember him giving a lesson in his class one time. And he talked about, just think of the words, blackball, blacklisted. And he went through all that and the negative connotations associated with it. That was the first time I heard that.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So I think that's when the world was starting to open up to me. Like, it is different.
Right.
It is different. But I took his class as a freshman. And so it was good I did.
Great time to have his class.
And then I just I'm fired up. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do stuff. I'm going to do stuff. And so I didn't realize I was one of the first black cheerleaders until somebody said that to me. Until people are coming up and putting their hands in my afro. And, you know, I'd have different, you know, those barebackers, you know, from way back. So we're so glad to have you as a cheerleader. And we're so glad to have you out there. It looks good to see you there. We need more black kids out there. And I'm like, okay.
Did you have a sense of what you wanted to do while you were there? Like you clearly clearly have leadership skills.
Yes.
Leadership qualities.
Yes.
Did you know beyond being there, like did you have an aim? Say, I want to get out of here and do this.
Okay, so I came in as an engineering major.
Yeah.
Because Mrs. Elois Irvin, God rest her soul, was my 9th grade algebra teacher. And so she just immediately put me on the math, engineering, and science track. She had me vice president of the Math, Engineering, and Science Achievement, the Mesa Club, and all that. So just put me on that track, right? So when I went in with my buddy Terry, we went in as engineering students. And very few, we may have been the only two, black females in the School of Engineering. And by the end of that year, I didn't like it. Getting good grades, but I didn't like it.
Right.
And so I took one business class and said, I think I want to change my major. And I took one organizational behavior class and I said, I'm going to do that. I'm going to work for a big company and lead people and all that. And so Terry decided she wanted to be a pharmacist. So it kind of took him a while to let us get kind of off the engineering track because, of course, you know, it was a good thing to have us there. And so then I just went down that track. And so I knew from that first class, I want to go work in a corporation and I want to lead large groups of people. And so I remember when I was recruited and I had 13 job offers. And I said, I'm going to take the one that pays me the most money because I want to help my family, you know, get out of Easter Hill. And then I'm going to take the one that lets me be the boss at 21 years old. At 21 years old, I'm going to come in and lead people because I want to serve people.
So what positions were you applying for?
Oh, so I had Wells Fargo, so kind of assistant manager at a bank, Chevron. I mean, just your typical kind of, but cross industries though. So right. the energy, the oil and gas industry, energy companies, banks, retail companies. So a lot of retailers were on campus, and then AT&T was there. So just a variety. I mean, so all the you're out there in those T buildings, and all the career people show up for the career fairs and all that. And I was just looking at who was going to pay me the most money. I mean, but I want to supervise people, so that was my criteria.
Is it typical straight out of college to apply for like a job as like assistant like a management job? Is that?
I guess it was for me, because I mean they had those jobs available.
Yeah. Right.
And what AT&T had, Pacific Bell, they had a fast track management program. So they'd bring you in a supervisory job and just help you kind of advance. And the goal was to get you to director by 5 years. I mean, so they wanted people who had proven kind of leadership experience,
right.
Leading clubs, whatever, however you did that at that age. And then they would help you grow as a leader. And so I came in our fast track program, hardly any blacks in that program. And it was quite an experience.
What did you learn?
Okay, so what I learned is that there's some people who are truly invested in you. I mean, they are invested. They want you to do well. I had my second boss, Norm McBride. He's in the Bay Area. I remember one time when he said, Cindy, he called me Cindy back then because I also learned that people call you what they want to call you. Okay. Even though I would say I am Cynt.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Cynthia, but I go by Cynt. Well, people never heard of Cynt. I had a boss one time told me to change my name. Like, you can't be Cynt. No, I can be Cynt. I've been Cynt my whole life. Okay, so that's one of my hot buttons.
Right.
But he'd call me Cindy because he just couldn't get with the Cynt thing. And he said, Cindy, what are you going to do in this company? So this is my second job, right? He goes, what are you going to do in this company? And ironically, my job was a network engineer. Ironically, okay, because my second job in the company, they wanted to promote me into my boss's job in operator services. But by that point, I had gotten like all this input, even from my own operators. Since Cynt, you need to leave. This company is big. It's a technical company. Go and learn this company because you want to know this company as you start to go up. These are my own operators telling me this because they were like all excited that they knew I was advancing in the company. So I turned down that promotion to be my boss. I turned down that job and took a lateral to go to the network engineering department. I mean, because at that time, it was telecommunications, right? The industry has changed a lot. But at that time, I did need to know our network. I needed to know how these phone calls were being made. I needed to understand the network underneath and behind it all. And so I took a lateral to the network engineering department, which was so funny to me because I spent all this time kicking and screaming. I didn't want to be an engineer, right?
Right.
My second job in the company, I'm a central office network engineer, right? And so my boss, the engineering manager, came up to me and he goes, Cindy, he's walking past with a little coffee cup one day. Cindy, what are you going to do in this company? What's your next job? What's your vision? What's your vision? What do you want to do? I said something to him that was so stupid, okay? But I'm 23 years old. I said it, so I can admit it now, okay? I looked at him and I said, Mr. McBride, I had my head down with all my demand and capacity charts. I'm trying to figure out how to network the call flow and make sure that we got enough, capacity and all that. And so I put my head up and I said, Mr. McBride, my job is to do my current job and to deliver, and I'm going to do it well. And I'm sitting there with all my stuff, and I kind of patted and showed it to him. And I said, and your job is to figure out my next job. So I'm going to leave it to you. How stupid is that? Like, is that stupid? How stupid is that, right? And so, but I really thought that.
Right.
I didn't know any better.
You had no idea.
I didn't know any better. I was 23 years old. I didn't know any better, right? This is my second job. And so he just looked at me. Thank God he did, though. This white man, okay, totally invested in me. And he said, oh, Cindy, come on back here with me. And so he took me back to his big engineering manager office, and he had all these whiteboards and easel sheets and all that. And that man spent 2 hours showing me the different departments of the company, what they do, how it all hangs together. He looked at my skill set, what he thought would be a good path for me. I mean, he spent 2 hours.
Wow.
Like, who does that? And he says, okay, so Cindy, let's start thinking about the next kind of job you need to have. You need something where you can see the big picture of the company, like a corporate support. He says, oh, we should make you one of our recruiters. So you could recruit just for the network engineering department, but you could be in a department where you could see it all. He had this whole vision. He laid out like my next 3 jobs based on what he knew about me. He says, so this is how this works. And you got to have somebody to help you do this, but then it's your decision. And so as I was leaving his office, he said, Cindy, don't ever put your career in somebody else's hands. He says, you have to own it. There will be people to help you. There will be people who will invest in you. And then there will be some people who are not invested in you. And so you have to be, you have to watch out for those people as well. And so he says, but you have to own it. If things aren't happening the way they need to happen, you need to speak up. You need to have, so he's the one taught me about mentors and sponsors and all that. And I walked out of his office with a plan. And he says, okay, so a couple of days later, he came by and he goes, Cindy, where you going, girl? Where you going in this company? What you going to do with your career? And I said, Mr. McBride, what I want to do, I want to have a job with the big picture of the company. And so I just like rattled out. He goes, we got it. Is that cool?
That's so amazing.
Is that amazing? I love Norm McBride. I got to find him. He's got to be in his 90s or something now. I got to find him. Is that beautiful?
So lucky that you said what you said to him and not somebody else. It's your job because you really did.
I thought that.
Yeah.
I thought I'm going to work hard because results matter. And I say that all the time. At the end of the day, that's the first thing that counts. Results matter.
Right.
You have to deliver the goods.
Right.
Okay? But that's not all that matters, because you can deliver the results and all that. But if nobody's invested in you, and if you don't know how to navigate the terrain, if you've just been, if you're just sitting there as a diverse person at the table, that's where my whole diversity and inclusion lesson comes in. If you're just sitting there because, you're the black person or you're the black woman, but nobody is truly telling you the culture and including you and helping you understand what the rules are and all that, you're just there. Right. And before you know it, 20 years has passed or 5 years passed and you're unhappy and you leave.
Yeah.
But he was invested in me and showed me the company.
How do you get people invested in you? What are things you can do at a company?
Well, first of all, you can reach out to people. Okay, so sometimes you have to show up. And I always say you must be present to win. So often when you first start in a company and different events are happening, you're like, I don't want to go because I don't know how to network. I don't know these people. And I was like that when I first started. In fact, I'd go to work and I'd go straight home. And my husband would say, well, do they have like stuff that's happening? I thought you mentioned this was happening. I said, yeah, I decided not to go. He's like, no, you got to go to some of that stuff. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't know these people, and I got my stuff to do at home, and I'm going to church, and I got to do this, I got to do that. Well, you know what? You actually do need to show up to stuff because you meet people. You meet people in your industry. Sometimes you meet people from other industries. You need to have a network and those connections, and then you start to get phone numbers and email addresses and all that so you can start to reach out to people and expand your network and kind of get outside of yourself. That's the biggest thing, is to get outside of yourself. Right. And then you will find somebody who you'll just connect with. I mean, I get that all the time. People ask me, can you be my mentor? Can you help me? And I said, well, you know what? I don't have the bandwidth to be your mentor, but we can have 1 or 2 sessions and I can help you on whatever it is that you're working on, but you have to bring me an agenda. You can't just come for us to just to chit chat. And as you can tell, I can chit chat all night.
Yeah,
I can chit chat all night.
Yeah.
Okay,
not that you don't want to.
I can chit chat all night, but no, I want them focused. Yeah. I mean, I can actually chit chat all night.
Yeah.
I mean, where I am in my life, but they don't have time to chit chat all night. Okay, so if you're going to be able, if you're going to have me, then give me the hard questions.
Yeah.
I mean, give me the hard questions and put me to work.
Yeah.
Put me to work in that time that we're going to be together. So I have done that exercise that I told you Norm McBride did for me. I've done that with a lot of people.
Amazing.
I've done it with a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I want to know where they work, what industry and all that, because I actually do my research and my homework before I get on these calls with them, because I want to help them. I want to do for other people what Norm McBride did for me. But the first step is to reach out and realize that you do need other people. You do need people to invest in you. You do need people to help you see what you can't see, because you just don't know what you don't know. And that's the first step, is to realize you are in a space that you really don't know about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it worked out for me.
What else did you learn at AT&T?
Oh, man, I learned a lot at AT&T. 36 years.
36 years.
36 years, okay? I have this slide that I actually have, and I wish I had it with me. And I go through my 15 jobs and everything that I learned.
Wow.
The main thing I learned from each one of those jobs, okay? I developed my leadership philosophy of my 3 L's. So I really learned how to be an effective leader, because there are all kind of leaders out there, okay? Right. I learned how to be an effective leader and a servant leader, which is what I am. I serve people. And my 3 L's is, if I want to be really effective, I need to do 3 things. I need to listen to the people, learn from the people, and love the people. Truly listen, not just hear them, but listen to what they're saying and what they're not saying. And listen to really understand who they are, what they want, what their needs are, which is what I did when I came here to the Mavs. Right. One-on-ones with every single employee. Right. Just listening to them and trying to understand who are these people that I need to serve.
Now, a lot of people might say, well, okay, you get in a position where you need to go and you kind of need to like triage, like what's going on here and figure things out. And okay, but if I go start talking to everybody, everyone's going to have different grievances. Everyone's going to want different things.
And you want all that. You want all that because it's a recipe. I mean, you're trying to bake a cake. You don't just bake it with the eggs. Okay, you got to have all of it. I mean, and like I make sweet potato pies. Okay, so I need my sweet potatoes. I want to try that. By the way, they're famous. Okay, they're famous. But I don't just say, okay, well, I got the sweet potatoes, so now I can make my pies.
Right.
No, I got to have the butter. I got to have the eggs. I got to have the sugar. I got to have the nutmeg. I got to have the cinnamon. And the nutmeg and cinnamon, that's only like 2 tablespoons. but that's what you really taste. Okay. If
Right.
it's missing, you know it's missing.
Right.
So everybody brings something different. So you got to hear all of that. I mean, you have to hear all of that. I have 200 people here. I got to know these people, and not just me. I mean, the people around my table, the leadership team, we have to know these people. We got to understand. Like I asked the people when I got here, I said, okay, I would start out by saying, how long have you been, I mean, give me your whole life story.
Right.
And undoubtedly they would say something like, well, this is my 7th season at the Mavs. And I said, were you born here? Like, were you born here in this building? Were you born on the court at the Mavs? I want the whole life story. So then I'd make them go all the way back because I want to know the story. Just like I started with you about being born in Birmingham and the foundation that I stand on and all that. I want to know who these people are because I'm here to serve these people. At the end of the day, I'm here to serve them so they can deliver something to our customers, to our fans. When I was at AT&T, to the share owners. So I need to know them.
Right. And
so I'd make them go all the way back. So then we'd get the whole story. Then I found out what's going on here and all that and their perspective. And then I would end the same way. And I'd say, tell me where you see yourself professionally 5 years from now. Where do you see yourself personally 5 years from now? Because my job as a leader is to help them get there.
Wow.
And then here's what I learned in that process. So many people in this organization, they literally chose to have a career in sports. Like very few did somebody like call them or they showed up to help with a crisis or whatever.
Right.
They chose a long time ago to have a career in sports. I was so emotional by the time I interviewed all these people. I mean, like I was crying.
Right.
And I called in the 2 women who had, come here with me. And I said, okay, so just like we chose to have a career in communications, these people chose to have a career in sports. Like some of these people were sports management majors in college. I never even heard of that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
These people are all into this. So our job is to help them have a great place to work. I was crying. Yeah. I said, okay, so like, are y'all all in or what? I mean, we're not here just for some crisis. Like we are all in with these people. We got to help give them a great place to work. They've invested like their lives getting ready for this. This is their life.
Right.
And so I like to talk to people so I can get that emotional connection with them, so I can know why they are actually coming in here every day. And more importantly, who is coming in here every day. So I can make sure that we have an environment that welcomes them for who they are. Right. That's why authenticity is one of our values. That's important to us. In fact, when I got here, we laid out a set of values that spell crafts: character, respect. That's the like no yelling and all that kind of stuff. Treat me right. Yes. So character, respect, authenticity, fairness, teamwork, and safety, both physical and emotional safety. So authenticity is real, but you have to know who people are. And so I often say the people, and I've said this for years, the people who get up out of bed in the morning, the issues they have, the baggage they have, the backgrounds they have, right. The cultural attributes they have, all of that, those are the people we should want to walk into our doors every day as employers. We don't want them to get up and go into a phone booth, if you can find it, and change out of who they are and put on a big cape with an M on their chest for Mavericks or a T on their chest for AT&T and come in and be the people we want them to be. We want the person who got up out of bed in the morning.
Wow.
Because that's the person. Now, usually I probably might want them to change clothes before they get here, okay? But that's who I want to walk in the morning or show up on the screen, because that authenticity gives us creativity. It gives us innovation. It helps us understand different cultures. It helps us tap into different market segments. It helps us see things differently. I don't want people going in and putting a cape on with an M on it, because then we're all the same.
Is this a prevailing is this position you have? Is this like a prevailing position in business? Like, do you come across many other people who think just like you?
No. Because some people, but I mean some.
Yeah.
I mean some, and I think it's getting better. But for a while early in my career, I was actually told, no, stop spending so much time with the people. Stop talking to the people. We're going to close off the offices. I remember when I got a VP promotion once, and I wouldn't move my office. And so the big office was up, I think, on 18, and I was on 17. And so my boss kept coming down. He goes, Marshall, you got to move. Like, your office is right across from mine. Like, you got to move. And so I finally told him, I said, I'm not going to move, because you have to go through security and all that. The doors are locked. You get off the elevator. There's a whole code. The security person, the receptionist, kind of security person is there. I said, I can't work there. I like it where it is right now. People just walk in my office. Okay, I can hear them. They can hear me. I don't need to be behind locked doors. I don't want my employees to have a code and all that to come and get me. And it wasn't back in the day with shootings and all that, right?
Yeah.
It was because we were VPs and we were big time and we were officers.
And you're supposed to separate, right.
I love my boss. I love Bill Blaze. He said, okay, I got you. So I figured, okay, I'm off the hook. So then a couple of days later, he came and got me. He says, you got to move. He said, I'm sorry, you got to move. So just start packing up, you got to move. And so it was up to the floor, the big mahogany suite, all that. He said, no, come with me. And we went up and we got off the elevator and the doors were wide open. The locks were gone. He got rid of them. Is that cool?
Wow.
He got rid of them. Yes. I said, you really want me up here? He said, no. He says, I listened to what you said. He said, that makes a lot of sense. And I love that guy because he would come in my office at the end of every day and he would just sit in my office for about 30 minutes. And I said, what are you doing here? Like, I got meetings, people are coming in. He goes, no, just talk to him. He said that's how he was learning everything. What was going on in the organization. He was learning different ideas, all that, because my office was Grand Central Station. We had these little round conference tables and people would just come and sit up and he'd kick up and just talk to everybody because people felt comfortable.
Now, credit to Bill Blaze for being willing to listen and change.
Yes.
But you've had a knack through your career of effectively communicating, convincing, and you're not even
most
necessarily...
Most of the time.
A lot of time. Look,
a lot of the
pretty
time.
Good track record.
Pretty good track record. Every now and then they didn't want to listen. It came back to haunt them, but pretty good track record.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Pretty good track record.
Didn't work out for them, right?
Right.
What's your... Do you have a strategy for how to get your ideas across? Like, how are you when you go into a place? How are you looking to implement yourself?
Okay, so I'm naturally a positive person. I mean, I have an alter ego. My middle name is Janelle. My alter ego is Janelle.
Okay.
You don't want to meet Janelle.
Uh-oh.
And I tell them Janelle has to be invited to come out to play. Okay, she just doesn't naturally just come out. Okay, she doesn't walk out the door with me in the morning. But if you go there, you can invite her out. So she rarely comes out, right? I'm naturally a positive person. I'm naturally an optimistic person. And I'm a person that believes in people. Right. I truly, truly believe that the Lord put us all here for a reason, and everybody brings something very special and unique to the party. And so I approach it that way. I approach it in a very positive manner and try to get people to understand what I think needs to happen. Now, in a leadership job, I have a bigger picture. Right. And so I have to do that with my team members sometime. And they'll tell me what they think. And I said, okay, well, from where I sit, I said, so you give it to me from where you sit, from your vantage point, and I'll give it to you from where I sit. And every now and then, I just got to make the decision, and we got to go. Yeah. But usually, is bringing people together. I was at a few meetings last week where roundtable kind of things and just so many ideas. And so now we're actually processing different ideas and changes. And sometimes you'll hear something, and you'll just laugh. You're like, we are not doing that. Because 99% of the people in here don't want that, and they're looking, and that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, but for some reason, that's important to somebody. So then you have that person's supervisor go and talk to them to figure out what's going on, and maybe that's something we need to do for one person, but not for the whole organization.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
What if someone's not naturally as sunny as you, as outgoing, couldn't maybe chit chat all night with just about anyone they meet?
Yes.
Can that person be an effective leader?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think it's about knowing what your mission and your goal is. If your mission is to get the best out of people and to get them to perform for the sake of the share owners, at the end of the day, you're running a business. Yeah. It's about profit and loss. Yeah. And you get to do good on top of all of that. Okay. A company does well by doing good. And so you get a chance to reach out to the community and do all that. But you got to make money in order to be able to do that. And so there's a way to get people, to engage people, and to get them to perform. Right. And I don't know if you know Michael Bush. He leads the Great Place to Work Institute in San Francisco. And there's a whole model around great places to work and the attributes of a leader that can create a great place to work, and the attributes of a great place to work, and the sharing, caring, and listening, and the different things that need to happen. It can be taught. It can actually be taught. I mean, some people just naturally have it, but there's a recipe. And I've helped other companies do that based on that recipe.
Wow. What do you think? So, make an important point. Companies aren't necessarily all about. I mean, doing good is a thing that you want to do, but when it comes to it's down to dollars and cents. At the end of the day, you need to make money. That's the goal,
right? And you can actually make more money. I've seen it. I mean, I've lived it, where you could actually even make more money by taking care of more people by doing good in the world. Because, in fact, I just had an example. I'll give you a perfect example. We have an organization. I won't mention who they are. Big sponsor of ours. Mm-hmm. Okay. Fabulous, actually a fabulous business model they have, right? And so our sponsorship guy asked me, he says, I need you to come to this meeting. And I said, okay. He goes, no, the sponsor, this company, they want you in the meeting because it's important to them that they connect with you and all that. So I get to the meeting. The CEO of the company, he looks at me and he says, you're the reason we're here. I'm like, okay, because at this point, I don't know if it's good or bad. I said, okay. And he says, we're looking at all the things that you and the organization, all the things you guys are doing in the community, what you're focused on and all that. We want to be a part of that. We're all about single mothers. We're all about, so he rattled off kind of their whole agenda. He goes, that aligns, what you guys do aligns with what we're doing. And we're seeing you out there. And I am blessed that I get to be the face a lot. I mean, we have fabulous people working in this organization. Yeah. Katie Edwards leads all of our corporate social responsibility initiatives, her and her whole team. I mean, we just have fabulous people all over the organization. But a lot of times I get to be the face. So the people think it's me, but it's everybody. And so he says, we said, we want Cynt Marshall in the meeting because we want to have a relationship with the Mavs because of Cynt Marshall and the things that you guys are doing. Now, I know that's him saying because of the Mavs and because of our agenda, including Mark Cuban and everybody else, because this organization had a community focus before I got here. Yeah. We just elevated it. My boss said, go. Okay. And so we just elevated it, responded to the George Floyd incident, responded to COVID. I mean, we just took our game up. We have a whole social justice agenda called Mavs Take Action. We are not playing about social justice. So we're doing a lot, and people recognize that. And because of that, they want to do business with us. Right. We have two sponsors that came on board, TIA and Coca-Cola. They actually said, we want to sponsor. We want to be a sponsor for Mavs Take Action. That's crazy because we're doing Mavs Take Action anyway. But now people want to partner with us. We're making more money because people are seeing what we're doing and they want to partner with us.
So by putting people first, you feel like more money can be made. There can be more money brought to the table.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
A lot of people view it as, that those are opposing goals, like, or that those are conflicting ideas.
No. When you hear people say a company does well by doing good, it's the truth. And I saw that with AT&T. I saw us bring in a lot of different customers and partners because of the things that we were doing in the community, because of our focus with employee resource groups and diversity, equity, inclusion, and supplier diversity is a good example I like to always use. You actually can show where you are spending less, where your purchasing spend is less when you have a diverse group of suppliers, but your quality has not lessened at all. I've seen that. I saw it at AT&T, and we are experiencing it right now at the Mavs. We just hit this week, like 31% of our spend our purchasing spend is going to minority, women, disabled, veteran business owners. And we set that target out. We said we want to impact and influence and be a good, we want to do good for those businesses, especially coming out of COVID, because a lot of those businesses were struggling. Of course, right. And so our purchasing spend is down, but our product is even better because of doing business. Who wouldn't want that? Right. Doing business with these diverse vendors. Good stuff. There is a bottom line dollars and cents equation to focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, philanthropy, and all that. It is very, very real. The diversity dividend is real. The return on investment and reaching out to communities and doing well and living up to your corporate social responsibility is real. You make more money.
There's another thought. There's another idea, I'll say, floating around people my age, a little younger, a little older, perhaps. That I think would be interesting to ask you about. This idea of, again, what's good for me, what's good for my company isn't necessarily good for me. That those are opposing ideas. That by devoting in other words, not finding the right work-life balance and having that scale tip too much towards work is a detriment to you as a person. This idea of maybe quiet quitting, right? Of how important is work really when ultimately it doesn't add to my life, and so maybe I'm just gonna do. How do you approach work-life balance? And
okay, Lord have mercy. I have so many thoughts on that. Okay, we only it's time. I mean, we only have so much, but let me give you the big ones. Okay. First of all, I personally, so this is Cynthia Janelle Marshall here, okay? I don't believe in balance. There is no way in the world I'm going to ever say I have balance and my kids and my family is going to be right here at the same level as my job. That's not happening.
Right.
Okay, my family will always be up there.
Right.
And my job will always be there.
We started this with you saying you have your phone out in case your kids call.
If they call, it's like, bam, I have to check it every now and then, make sure my daughter's not having a crisis or somebody's not having it. Like my daughter right there, I ordered her some food. She said, I got it. Okay, that's good. Mommy feels good. Okay, Mommy feels good. Okay, the fettuccine Alfredo showed up. So it's never going to be where I have that kind of balance because my family's always going to be up there. What I try to do is what I call integration, okay? And I just integrate it. Okay, there's sometimes when I got to focus more on what I'm doing here. The season is getting ready to start and all that, and I'm not going to be at home with the folks that are hanging around in my house. I'm an empty nester right now, okay? Right. But they pop in, they pop out, like my daughter today. Mom, I'm coming over to have lunch. Well, that's great. You're going to eat with Dad. Because I'm on my way out. I'm pulling out of the driveway right now, okay? And I'm not going to just stop and like have lunch with her, okay? Yeah. I'm hanging out with you, okay? That was already planned, right? But I just integrate it. You just do what you have to do. And not everybody's blessed to be able to do that, where they can just kind of like pick and choose. But here's what you can do. You can identify your crystal balls and the rubber balls. And I wish I had. Explain that, please. And I wish I had my actual example. Crystal ball. So imagine a crystal ball. You drop it. It shatters. It never comes back. I mean, you drop it, it's over, okay? Rubber balls, they bounce back. I can throw it to you. You'll catch it. Maybe you'll do something with it. I can throw it over there to Aaron. Maybe she'll drop it. Maybe she'll drop it. I can throw it over here. Maybe to David. Maybe he'll throw it back. Okay, who knows? Okay, but it's not urgent right now. You got time to fool with all that. Your crystal, it's urgent. You can't drop it. And so what I try to do on a regular basis is say, what is crystal in my life right now that I cannot drop? What is rubber? And I'll give you a good example. When AT&T named me the president of AT&T in North Carolina to go and run the North Carolina and then eventually also the Virginia operation, it's a big job, okay? And since it was close to Washington, D.C., they would ask me to come to Washington, D.C. periodically to help them with policymakers on big issues. And I knew a lot of the policymakers. And so one time they asked me if I could come and actually be there all week. And I said, okay, I got a great team here in North Carolina. They can carry the day. I can be there all week except for Wednesday afternoon. I can't be there on Wednesday afternoon. And so I said, because it's my son's first high school swim meet. And so they said, okay, great. So I get there Monday morning. We're in a meeting. They're laying out all the policymakers we have to meet with and all the committee heads and the big wigs. The meetings are on Wednesday afternoon. And I said, I told you guys I can't be here Wednesday afternoon. They're like, Cynt, but these people are important, blah, blah. I said, no. I told you guys it was my son's first high school swim meet. That's a crystal ball. It's not his second high school swim meet. It's not his third. It's his first high school swim meet in a new school in a new state. I'm not dropping this. So I'm going to have the meeting. I'm going to have the meetings I need me to have on Monday and Tuesday. And then I am flying home so I can be at his swim meet. And then I'm going to fly right back. And then we can finish out. So you're going to have to move these people. So at first they start laughing. They're like, no, it's a swim meet. I'm like, It's not just a swim meet. It's a crystal ball. It's not like a swim practice.
Right.
It's crystal ball. Okay. So of course I went home, right? And my boy looked up, and I'm convinced to this day he won that individual medley race because his mama was in the stands. He looked up for his daddy and his sister, and I was up there smiling. That was important to me. And then I went right back, okay? Right. And a lot of times I'm not there. A lot of times I'm not at activities. I'm not there and all that. But I know what's important to me, and I know what's crystal. And I ask people to stop and do that because most things are rubber, okay? A lot of things just actually don't matter. They'll come back later. You can pick them up later. Somebody else will get them. But what is crystal? So I ask people to do that. And if people have things that are crystal in their life and they're working for an employer and they're somewhere where they just cannot handle, the employer won't allow them to handle what's crystal, because most things aren't. They need to reassess. They need to truly reassess. Is this the place I'm supposed to be? If you're working in an environment where their values don't align to your values. And this is what I told my kids when they graduate from college. I give them this list of tips. And so depending on their age, so I'll say this is 21, these are 21 tips for my princess, or 22 tips for my prince, right? So whatever age they are when they get out. And it's just life things. And one of the things I have on that list is if you are working in a place and their values don't align with your values, they truly don't align with your values, and you are struggling every day to live your values and be who you know the Lord called you to be, then you need to politely talk to people and then put that badge respectfully on the desk and leave.
Wow.
And I got your back.
Wow.
Because you can't live like that. And I truly believe that there are places when you know who you are, you know what your values are, there's a place for you. Somebody is waiting for you. Now, you're not going to do anything crazy where you're just going to walk out and then you're going to get home and say, okay, how am I going to buy bread and cheese?
Yeah.
Okay, like I can't eat. You're not going to do anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's time to start thinking about what you're going to do next. Because you need to be, you don't have to be smiling and running in, cheery every day.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't be walking in crying, and you shouldn't be leaving crying and your heart beating fast and you can barely breathe. You can't work like that.
Yeah.
You can't work like that. You got to be, that's why physical and emotional safety is one of our values.
Right.
You got to be safe in all those ways. You got to be mentally healthy. I call it PMS, physical, mental, and spiritual health. Everybody has PMS. Everybody should focus on their PMS. Physical, mental, and spiritual health.
Hard to forget. I'm gonna never forget that.
I know when I do my big events, and I say, okay, ask your neighbor. Neighbor, do you have PMS? And they all go. I'm like, no, I don't know why you guys are laughing. I'm talking about physical, mental, and spiritual health. You have to have it, and you have to think in your life about if you're out of alignment and you don't have it, why don't you have it?
Right.
And what do you need to do to get there? Right. And sometimes it's just a matter of talking to your employer and telling them, okay, so here's what's not working for me. Our employees do that. Okay, here's Cynt, we need this, and you and the leadership team need to focus on that. And I'm like, no, we need to focus on it. It's all of us. We had a meeting last week. It was all of us. Okay, everybody talk about all this. These are the things we're focused on. All of us get to create an environment. Our workplace promises every voice matters and everybody belongs, right? All of us get to create that. And so that means we have to talk about it. And we just did an assessment of our values. Okay, so we've got to look at that and see where we are and how we get there. And then if it just ends up not working for you, then you have to start making some changes. If the employer won't make changes, then you have to start making changes.
What you've also experienced a lot of personal tragedy in your life.
Yes.
As you're ascending.
Yes.
How did you never, and just for people who don't know, I mean, miscarriages.
Yeah, 4 second trimester miscarriages. So I had to deliver all these babies, have them on me, sign the death print, the footprint, all that. Okay, so and I almost died a few times. So 4 second trimester miscarriages, a daughter who was born 4 months prematurely, who died at 6.5 months old.
Yeah.
Husband who
Special K.
Special K. Oh, you did your homework.
Yeah,
yes, August 21st was the date that she passed away. So I just did this big Twitter thing to honor her. Yeah. And then I had a husband, my husband, he's still my husband, 39 years. The one who I put on hold for 4 years when I went to college.
Amazing character, by the way. I wish we had time. I wish he was here.
Oh, yeah. He probably wish he was here, too. He'd really tell you some stories. But he ended up with brain damage. And so they said he would never walk or talk again. And so he is walking and talking again. Okay. And so you just kind of go through. You get through it though.
But how do you cancer as well? I mean,
oh yes, I forgot about the whole cancer battle. Okay, yes, stage 3 colon cancer. They don't think I'm gonna be here.
You know, people
it's like, come
from.
on now.
Okay, we all have problems.
Yes,
most of our problems
aren't life or death.
Aren't like your problem.
Right.
I mean,
right.
You are. I mean, you've been through it.
I've had life and death problems.
How do you not let that impact your work? How does that not cross over? How does that not cross over into your work life?
Well, it does. I mean, it crosses over into the work life. I mean, when I look at my whole cancer battle, I got through that cancer battle, obviously by the grace of God and some great medical care, but by the support of the employees at AT&T. I mean, from all around the country, frankly, even other countries around the world. These people rallied around me, did what they need to do. They had food sent to my house. I mean, I could just go on and on. If you read my book, You've Been Chosen, you will read all about how the AT&T people showed up for me. And that's the story of my life. God and great people always show up. The things that I go through, honestly, I've been chosen to go through them. I mean, I wouldn't be going through them if the Lord didn't say, okay, this is your next opportunity.
But then how do you, obviously it's going to bleed into you. It's going to affect, impact
it does.
Your work. How do you not let it hinder the quality of your work, your focus? How do you not let it distract? How do you not allow it to, how do you allow yourself to still care about work and find it important?
Okay, so I'll give you the example. When my daughter died, I relied on work. Okay. That actually, I relied on work almost to a fault because that's how I actually became a workaholic. I actually had pretty decent schedule where I was working my little hours, 8 to 10, and then I go home. After my daughter died, I just went full-blown 12, 15, 16-hour days because that was a distraction for me. But I needed it. I needed that distraction until one of my employees called it out and said, okay, long enough. Because now we're all working those hours too. Right. Long enough. So now let's get a handle on it. Let's see if you need therapy. What do you need to do now? Because you have decided that this job.
One of your employees said that to you.
Yes, one of my employees.
No one above you.
One of my employees walked in my office, Carmen Cooper. She walked in my office one day and she goes, okay, Cynt, we need to talk. And there were like 3 other employees outside of her office. So I guess they had all been talking. And so because I asked them to all come in. And they said, oh, no, Carmen's coming in.
Poor Carmen. Carmen got the assignment.
And they said, no, Carmen's coming in. I'm like, okay. So Carmen comes in, she closes the door, and she says, boss, we need to talk. I said, what? She says, we're all grieving the loss of Special K. Obviously, we're not grieving the loss like you're grieving it. Okay? We've never had to bury our kids. But we're all grieving it too. You decided that the way you're going to handle it is to just try to ignore it and just dig into work, okay? So from the minute we all left the funeral that Friday until now, it's been all work. Our hours have doubled. I mean, she just laid it all out. She says, because obviously that's what you need to do, what you think you need to do to get through it. She says, it's been going on a few months now, and it needs to stop. You need to breathe, and you need to let us go home and breathe. It's out of hand now. I mean, she called me on it. Yeah. And I said, no, girl, because we got this going on, we got that going on. She said, we've always had that going on. But we didn't have to attack it at the pace that we're attacking it now. We're attacking at the pace that we're attacking it now because you're putting all your energy and emotion into this because that's how you're grieving. Wow. And it's affecting all of us. So number one, yes, we are concerned about our work schedules, but more importantly, we are concerned about you. We think it's unhealthy. And so we need to all talk about it. So then she opened up the door and the other ones came in and then we just all cried and they were right. And we just kind of all dealt with it. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
And did you start to?
Oh yeah, we backed up.
Back up.
We had to back up. Okay. I mean, they were right. I mean, they were absolutely right. And the quality was still great. It was even better. We were we were just like joined together at that point because they called it out. That's why the speak up culture is really important to me, and being able to walk in your boss's office and talk to them is so important because sometimes people will see things that you don't see. And I am just a workaholic by nature. I won't be in a job that I don't love.
Yeah.
Now, my husband said I have loved every job I have. And so I said, well, maybe I picked the job, maybe just my nature, okay? But I just love what I'm doing all the time, right? Because I just feel like it's some kind of like divine purpose, like I'm on a mission.
Right.
And so I love it. And I love the people I work with and all that. But every now and then, you could just go too far with just pouring everything into it. And you need somebody to kind of just say, stop. Like I just told my team members that people need to try to get their vacation time in.
Yeah.
The schedule is out. The season is coming up. You know, come October 22nd, we're going to be in it until we win it all in June. Okay?
Yeah, right. Hey.
So get your time in. Yeah. So, but or I could say, well, it's business planning time and nobody gets off. If you haven't taken your vacation time, we're just going to pay it out. Like, why would I do that?
Right.
People need to take a break. So when you're going through things, sometimes you need other people. The people who are close to you, work people are close to you. You spend so much time with them. They can help you see what's going on. They can give you advice and all that. And so...
And that's something that also speaks to, I mean, that goes back to, again, like you making sure other people are taken care of.
Well, yes.
Right. Then begets people, your people who would normally feel comfortable going to talk to you or feeling comfortable and going in respectfully kind of...
It's a ripple effect. And it doesn't always happen. I mean, you know, we'll experience losses and things happen, and then you'll say, what happened there? And you'll think, ooh, I think we could have like avoided that loss, or I think we could, you know, were we there for that person? I mean, so every now you'll miss something.
What would you say is one of your biggest missteps in business if you had to look back?
Oh man, I know.
It's all been pretty charming, but if
no, I know this one. I mean, I love the question when they're saying, did anything ever like not work for you? Oh yes, I could give you a few examples, but this one in particular, and I'll try to make it quick. It was back when I got my first big director promotion. So remember, I was on this fast track management program, right? So I get my first big director job. I mean, I had like a small one before then. And so I was over like all the installation and maintenance crews and like just this group, thousands of people right there in the East Bay.
Right.
My office right there in Oakland, 2150 Webster Street. So I have this big job, you know, first black person, you know, first, all that, right? Great job.
Yeah.
And so I decided what I was going to do, like the technicians are out there, their bosses. So I said, I'm getting to know everybody. I got to be out there. I got to know what the technicians do. I got to know what the inside maintenance administrators do. I just got to because I didn't really know this area of the business, right? So in order to learn this business, I said, I got to be out there with the people, okay? I went to pole climbing school. I mean, all that. I interacted with the union. I mean, the works, right?
All right.
And then I got totally out of balance because when you're a leader, there's a whole job that has to be done. That's one of my big things now is do the whole job.
Yeah.
There's a whole job that has to be done. There's kind of like the paperwork and the process and the audits and the reviews. There's stuff you have to do as a leader, stuff that you have to have your eye on. You have to run your business. You got to pay attention to the details. You don't have to be in the weeds with your people. Let them do their jobs. But there are just certain things as a leader I have to look at. So reports I have to look at, certain things I need to do. And so I used to have this model that was as ridiculous as what I told Norm McBride, okay? I used to have this model that says I do my paperwork, my people work by day and my paperwork by night. Meaning I'd be out in the field with the people. I'm going to get to know these people. I'm a hands-on leader. I love these people. I got to listen to them, learn from all that, right? And then I would get around to all this other stuff on my desk, the paperwork and stuff, when I got ready. I do that at night. I take that home. And so sometimes I take it home and I work long hours and I'd get it done. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just too tired. I'm exhausted. I'll get it done. Well, this one night I'm actually looking at a report and I found some anomalies in the report. And it actually was somebody actually engaged in some unethical activity. And I kept looking. I said, something's not right. And I'm a numbers person, right? And I said, these numbers aren't adding up. So then I go in the next day and I asked for the previous month's report. Then I asked for the month before that. So then I went back quite a few months. And the anomaly is there. Now, I didn't see it. You know why I didn't see it? Because I was out there doing my people work by day and my paperwork by night if I could get to it. This particular night, I focused on it. Previous months, I had not focused on it. I missed it. Like, I flat out missed it.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I got to raise the flag. And so I got to raise the flag. I got to do the investigation. I got to do all this. And so we uncover everything. And so I'm feeling pretty good about myself because I found the problem. Well, should I have really been feeling good about myself? No, because I should have found it a long time ago. And that's what my bosses had to tell me. Like, Cynt, this is great, but like, you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
And so then I was cutting up and just like, oh, I found it. I was paying attention, and blah, 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 blah. And it actually took me months. It took me months to actually accept accountability for my role in what had happened. And it truly came down to not doing the whole job, focusing on the pieces that I liked or the pieces that I felt were important, even if I didn't like it, okay? The pieces that I felt were important. Well, at that level, it's all important, but you have to set priorities and you have to figure out how to do that whole job. Yes, you have people looking and all that, but you have to have structure and a process. And I'm like that to this day. My team will tell you, if my schedule just starts getting crazy and I'm doing too many external things or I've got too many one-on-ones or too much, and I can't pay attention to some of the reports and some of the stuff and strategy that I think I need to pay attention to, I start getting anxious.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a whole job to do and there's nobody else to do my whole job except me. And so usually what I try to do at the beginning of the week is look at my schedule and just make sure I have the time to do what I perceive to be the whole job.
Yeah.
And then when people start taking time that I have blocked and start taking time away, actually what's happening is I'm giving up the time that I need in order to be able to do my whole job. And if I allow too much of that to happen, by the end of the week, I've done everything else that people think is important, and I haven't done my whole job.
Yeah.
And then there goes my weekend that I actually usually do to prepare for my speaking engagement. So I got like a whole little system, but I learned it the hard way. I learned it the hard way. Fortunately, it was time for me to leave that job. I had been in it a couple of years. Fortunately, because if it wasn't time for me to leave it, I would have left it anyway. Because I blew it. Because I didn't do the whole job. And so I give that advice a lot. Do the whole job. Know what that whole job is. Understand when you get in a new big position like that, what is the scope of this job? What has to be done in this job? What do you think you need to do to be effective? And then do it.
Yeah.
And not just get sucked up in the fun stuff or the stuff you like or the stuff that somebody else thinks is a priority, because you know there's a whole job to be done. And when you find out that there are some negative consequences for not doing that whole job, there's nobody to blame but yourself.
Right.
I learned it the hard way. Do the whole job.
Do the whole job.
Yes.
Listen, I want to ask another. Well, we'll ask. Been sweet with your time, so we can wrap up. You have a hell of a whole job right now.
Ooh, I love my job. Yes, yes.
Of an NBA team, the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes, we went to the Western Conference Finals. Okay, did you
got
watch
one of the great players in the NBA? Yeah,
okay, it was so good.
You guys got one. Oh man, I love watching.
It was so good.
I'm a Laker fan through and through.
Okay,
but I love watching them.
But we're playing the Lakers on Christmas Day.
I know.
You need to come back.
Come
hang out with us. Happy holidays.
Hey, if that's an invite, I'll be here.
I'll invite you to get some sweet potato pie. Okay? Oh, yes. Because my kids won't walk in the door unless they smell it. They're like, yes, you got to come get some sweet potato pie.
I'm here for it.
Okay.
You came in to a whole job that was a whole lot of work. I mean, things had been going. Mark Cuban, owner of the Mavs.
Yes.
Called you directly, knew he needed you. You are the right person to come in here. And
I didn't know him when he called me.
You didn't know him?
That's all right. I know him now.
You can't tell your husband.
I know
you can't
him
tell
now.
your yeah, of course, yeah. How are you approaching being the CEO of the Mavericks, given kind of what was happening before you got here, and how are you hoping to leave things here before you do eventually?
Okay,
how do you want to leave things here?
Here's how I want to leave things, like I want to leave anything else in my life. I've told my kids that when I'm gone off this earth, here's what I want to be up on the big, beautiful marble stone, because it's going to be fabulous. Whatever they have out there for me, it's got to be fabulous, okay? I wanted to say she left it better than she found it, no matter what it was. That I came in to wherever it was, the Dallas Mavericks or anything else, and I love these people, and I left it better than I found it. And so to leave the Mavericks better than I found it means that we have a set of values that we are operating under. So we have values-based employment, that the people here are operating with and demonstrating character, respect, authenticity, fairness, teamwork, and safety, physical and emotional safety. That's important to me, which is why we just did an assessment of our values. That we have values-based employment, that we have a diverse employee body, a diverse set of customers, diverse fans, diverse people sitting around courtside seats.
Yeah.
And so we are diversifying every season, even more and more, which is awesome. That we have a diverse set of suppliers, a diverse set of sponsors, and that we have our philanthropic spend is diverse. That all kinds of communities can say they have been touched by the Dallas Mavericks. Okay.
And there were no people of color in the executive,
Correct.
Wing here. So this is not a...
Correct. We had 10 white men sitting around the table in my first meeting, and then they brought in 2 women who were not a part of the permanent leadership team. So now our leadership team, executive leadership team, is 50% women and 50% people of color.
Wow.
And when you go down through the tables, we have a diverse employee body. So I feel great about
Done
that.
some work.
And so that's important to me. But equally as important is to have an inclusive culture. So not just have these people in their great jobs and doing great things, and our employee body looks like the community that we serve and the fans that we serve, but that people are included, that we actually embrace people and we teach people the rules and we teach them how to operate and we embrace them and we accept them for who they are. So inclusion and belonging is very important. And so we try to measure that. We have a few different ways where we try to measure that. So representation is important, but then also just the whole culture and the climate. And so that's what we focus on every day. And then, of course, we want to make money. My boss, somebody told me when I first got here about the financials, and Mark Cuban is a billionaire, and if he needs to write a check back to the company, he will. I'm like, well, that's not a good attitude to have, because I come from a place, 36 years, where it was about profit and loss, and Mark Cuban gets to keep his money that he has. We should be making money to give back to this organization.
I see why he called you.
I mean, we should be making money. Okay, Mark Cuban should not be funding this team every year. And so we just had a very good year. COVID hit us hard, but we still made money. But we just had a very good record-setting, unprecedented year. So I feel good about that. Yeah, we almost have a waiting list for season ticket holders.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have some of the lowest prices in the NBA, but we got all kind of good stuff going on here. So that's what I want. I wanted people to say she left it better than she found it in every aspect of our business. She left it better than she found it. So that's what we're trying, and I have great people that I work with. I truly don't take the credit. I mean, the Lord blessed me to be able to bring people together, and we get it done. If I lost the people around that table, we would not be as successful as we are. If my boss didn't have the faith that he has in us, and if he didn't actually slow down long enough to teach me the business of basketball, which he promised he would do. He knew I didn't know a thing about basketball, okay? And he's done that. So we're all in this really together. We have an external advisory council that I put together, the Dallas Mavericks Advisory Council, about 30 people outside of our business, representing all walks of life, who advise us on our business to help us make sure we are in touch with what we need to be in touch with. And then, of course, our season ticket holders and our fans. And then our players, who are absolutely phenomenal, and they are men of character, and they love the community.
You got a Cal Bear running the team.
Don't play.
Come on, J Kidd.
Okay,
Let's
go
go.
Bears.
Oakland in the house.
Yeah,
Come
Oakland
on.
in the house. And then, of course, our general manager, Nico Harrison. So, and then Mike Finley, the assistant general manager. We have a good team, on and off the court. And so I'm blessed to be able to be the face of it a lot, but they're doing it. I mean, I'm in there too now. I work hard, but we all do. We all do. And so we're all going to leave it better than we found it.
Cynt Marshall, thank you so much. It's like as incredible as it was to read your book, and then there's so much more in there that we couldn't get to. I could talk to you for hours. To have the pleasure of sitting with you and feeling your spirit, it's even better than I could have imagined. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for coming in here. Thank you for flying out just to talk to me. I'm feeling pretty special right now.
I'm going to do it again.
Okay, do it again on Christmas.
Okay,
well, I don't know if I can take you away from your family on Christmas, but you can bring all them too.
There we go.
I got 5 empty beds. Hopefully 4 by the time you get back. But
cool. Yeah. We can make it work.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynt.